So here I have my swatch. No! Swatch of horrors. One of the things I really enjoy knitting is even when you end up with a swatch of horrors, you have options in terms of how you can take that horror show happening in your fabric and turn it into a happily ever after. Yes, we can frog back. We can also disguise mistakes with duplicate stitch. Or if it's a structural problem like a drop stitch, we can use a crochet hook to fix so many problems without undoing everything. It's only about knowing how to do it. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and let's look at how we use our crochet hook to fix our mistakes in knitting. I want to go over some of the handy tools that I like to use when I am hunting down the dropped stitches in my life. If you already know the tools that you want to use, you already have them, you want to skip past this, no problem. Down in the description box, you will find timestamps to different parts of the video that might be more helpful for helpful. Also down in the description box, you will find a link of resources and materials that are inspired by today's video. Some of these will have clearly marked affiliate links. If you do any shopping with one of these links, I might earn a small commission, and this does help me support my channel as well as any tips through SuperThanks or Buy Me a Coffee. So if you utilize any one of these means of support, thank you so much. It is so greatly appreciated. So obviously we're going to be talking about using a crochet hook, so you need some kind of crochet hook. So you can use any crochet hook that's appropriately sized for your yarn as a repair hook. Does that mean you need to run out and buy a whole set of crochet hooks? No, you can get like 3 crochet hooks, one for fine yarn, one for medium weight yarn, and one for heavier yarn, and you're going to be pretty well covered. I'd recommend that the crochet hook be really basic, like this one, without any kind of ergonomic handle. And this is going to be fine. However, this is not what I recommend for knitters to have in their notions bag. I'm really a believer that an essential tool for knitters in this day and age is to have what are called repair hooks. All repair hooks are double-ended crochet hooks. As you'll see later, this style of crochet hooks makes repairs much easier with garter stitch in particular. The other thing to make sure you have on hand, I always think when you're getting ready to repair, are stitch markers, locking stitch markers. And it's really so that if I have a drop stitch, I want to stop the unraveling, I can just stick a stitch marker in there and it's safe and secure, and nothing's gonna fall down further. Sometimes I have more complicated repairs that I've done in lace in particular, where things can get very complicated very quickly, and it's really good to have stitch markers around to help catch stitches and to keep things as orderly as you can. Finally, something really good that's handy to have in your notion bag is some kind of cable needle. Even if you never work cables, having some kind of cable needle in your bag is very helpful. One, again, this is something very quick that you can take and stick through a stitch to stop the unraveling. The other reason I like to have it though is if sometimes when I've had to drop down and do repairs, it's not just one stitch, it's 2 or 3 stitches, and it's really handy to have a double-ended needle of some kind, like a cable needle, to kind of put extra stitches on, and this is really handy to have. In today's video though, we're gonna focus on the basics, because focusing on the basics sets you up for more advanced repairs. And if you want videos of me showing how to use crochet hooks to repair problems in cables or lace, please let me know down in the comments below. So I'm going to start off by showing you how to do a repair on stockinette stitch, because this is actually the easiest type of fabric to do a repair with a crochet hook. So I have a worsted weighted yarn here, so I'm going to pick up my worsted weighted double-ended crochet hook to do this. So here's my fabric, and you can see these lines of thread going across that used to be stitches, and we call these ladders. And the idea behind using your crochet hook is that you're going to re-pull those rungs of the ladder through the stitch in order to re-knit this fabric. So step one is to get the crochet hook into your live stitch. For this type of yarn and worsted weight, this usually is not a problem, but sometimes with really splitty yarn or really small, like fingering weight yarn, getting your crochet hook into the stitch that's dangling there is a little tricky. So what I will do is I will take my crochet hook and I will actually put it into the stitch below, or even 2 stitches below, and I will unravel that 1 stitch, and now my crochet hook is cleanly into a stitch without any problems. Second tip, really important, is when you go to do this, you want to keep the head of the crochet hook up. Having it up like this is going to make working each ladder much more seamless so that the crochet hooks never come out of the new stitches. You'll see what I mean as I go through this. So, crochet hook up. I'm going to bring the crochet hook underneath the ladder right above, okay? And then I'm going to just use the hook to grab that ladder and pull it through the stitch that's on my hook and up. And notice my crochet hook is still up and I am all set to work my next ladder. Boom. Let's watch again in slow-mo. So my hook is up. I bring the hook underneath the ladder on the row above. I use my hook to grab that ladder and pull a new loop through the loop on my crochet hook. And I'm all set up for my next repair. Simply by keeping that crochet hook up, my stitch, my live stitch, always remains on the crochet hook, nice and secure, so I never have to worry about the stitches falling again. So what happens if my crochet hook is pointed down, okay? Well, I can't come underneath the ladder and grab the yarn, so I'm naturally going to take my crochet hook and bring it over the top of the ladder to grab that yarn. So I pull the yarn through the loop on my crochet hook and I've repaired the stitch, but I have a problem. I can't easily get my crochet hook back in position to do my next repair. Either I'm going to have to turn my crochet hook, which is going to twist the stitch, which you can see there, or I'm going to have to take my crochet hook out of the stitch and put it back in, which means for a moment my live stitch is at risk for dropping back down again. Or if I have a double-ended crochet hook, I can flip the crochet hook over, push the crochet hook through, and I've got another crochet hook on my end. So that is another advantage of having the double-ended crochet hook, is you don't have to think so much about where the direction that your crochet hook is pointing. But I think the safest, easiest thing to do always is to just crochet hook up, bring the crochet hook underneath the ladder, pull through. And voila! Sometimes when doing this, the recreated stitches here in the column of stitches where the drop happened will be a little loose, but that normally will work itself out through washing and blocking. I don't worry too much about that. In this case, it laddered up beautifully. Like you would never know I had dropped a stitch there. My swatch of horrors has been banished, and now we just have a nice happy ending. Or do we? No, I am not tired of the joke. I will never be tired of the joke. I will beat this dead horse. Garter stitch is trickier to repair than stockinette because in garter, You've got ladders that are kind of forward to the front of the fabric and ladders that are more towards the back, and that's because in garter stitch, remember, your purl bump alternates being towards the back of the fabric, the wrong side of the fabric, and to the front side of the fabric, the public side of the fabric. So that means the live stitch that's on your crochet hook is going to have to alternate from being in front of a ladder in order to recreate a knit stitch, or becoming behind the ladder in order to recreate a purl stitch. And let me just tell you, this is when the double-ended crochet hook is your best friend, because having the double-ended crochet hook is going to make repairing your garter stitch so much easier and so much less fraught with problems. So let's dive in and learn the tips and tricks for working the garter repair. The thing that you first need to do is figure out which stitches are going to have to be worked as if they were a knit stitch and which stitches are going to be worked as if they were a purl stitch. Here's how you can tell. Here's my live stitch on my hook. I want to look right down to the stitch below it. All right? The stitch below, you can see, looks like a knit stitch. If that looks like a knit stitch, that means that this stitch has to be worked as if it were a purl, okay? If instead, I'm gonna just take my crochet hook and pop this out so you can see. If instead I look below the live stitch that's on my crochet hook and it's a purl bump, all right, then this stitch has to be worked as a knit stitch, because again, in garter, on the front of the public side of the fabric, it alternates purl bump, knit stitch, purl bump, knit stitch, and we have to recreate that same altering purl bump, knit stitch appearance. So the next thing we need to do is find the right ladder to work with. Because again, notice that the ladders, they aren't all like sitting on the same plane. In garter, again, because of the nature of garter, there are ladders that seem to be more to the front of the work, and there are ladders that look like they're more towards the back. And sometimes it can be a little ambiguous what the next ladder up is in the column to grab. So what I'd like to do is, instead of looking at the ladders, because they can be messy and confusing, instead I look at the column of stitches to the left of where the drop is, and I go, where is my next row up? Okay, so here's this stitch that is on my crochet hook, and this stitch, if I follow it through, matches up with this row, right? I want to look one row up. That's the row up. So I pull this leg and I follow it, and there is the ladder that I need to work next, okay? So now there's my ladder, and I just do a knit stitch, just like you would do with your stockinette fabric. But the next row is the tricky row, because we have to do a purl repair. In order to create the purl stitch, this stitch on my crochet hook, this is the stitch where the purl bump is going to get flipped to the front of the work. To do that, that means that this stitch has to come behind the ladder in order to get repaired. I'm going to take the live stitch and my crochet hook, and I'm going to bring them behind the ladder. And this is where having the double-ended hook is so great, because I can take my double-ended hook and I can pull the stitch behind that ladder, and now I am all set to do my repair. And I find with the purl repair, it's easiest to do this by taking my crochet hook and pointing it down, coming over the top of the ladder, pulling it through, and then flipping my crochet hook up. And voila, I have done the purl repair. Let's go through the whole process again in slow motion, starting with the knit repair. I'm going to bring my crochet hook underneath the ladder on the row above.
Then I'm going to pull the ladder through the stitch on my crochet hook. Then to do the purl stitch repair on the next row, I take my crochet hook, I bring it behind the ladder on the row above. I push my double-ended crochet hook up so I get to the hook on the opposite side, and then I can use that hook to drag the stitch behind the ladder. I then point my crochet hook down to come over the top of the ladder, pull it through the loop on my crochet hook, flip the crochet hook over, and the repair is complete.
Now, my next one is easy. It's a knit. So I take my fabric. Again, though, I don't, this ladder right here, that's the easily accessible ladder. It'd be really tempting to go right into this and knit it, right? But if I do that, I've actually missed a ladder on the back. That's the ladder I should have worked into. So we don't want to just look at what is the easily accessible ladder. We have to find what is the next ladder in the column. So again, stretch out my fabric a little bit. And I look towards the row above, that's right here, and this is the ladder. And you might notice a pattern. Whenever you have a knit repair to do in Garter, the ladder is going to cheat towards the back of the work.
Just like the yarn is to the back of the work when I do a knit stitch. So crochet hook under the ladder, grab the ladder, pull it through.
Now we have to do the purl. So again,
need to get the stitch on my crochet hook behind this ladder, because just like we knit a purl stitch, the yarn is held to the front. So I take my crochet hook and bring it behind that ladder, pull it through so I can drag the stitch behind the ladder. Use my crochet hook, bring it over the ladder to drag it through the stitch on my crochet hook. Flip the crochet hook around.
And once you understand how this works, it goes by very quickly. The swatch of bar has once again been banished with the help of my handy crochet hook. Now I've been doing this garter stitch with double-ended crochet hook, but let's say you don't have a double-ended crochet hook. Does that mean you can't do the repair? Of course not. You can do it with a regular crochet hook. There's just one slight change you have to make. So here I am, and I need to do a knit
stitch repair, and I've been emphasizing to keep the crochet hook pointed up and coming underneath the ladder to do this type of repair.
It's a little more complicated with the garter. So instead of coming under in garter,
I'm going to bring my hook over the top of the ladder and pull the ladder through the loop on my crochet hook. The crochet hook will naturally flip over. I'm going to pull the crochet hook down so the loop is now sitting on the blunt end of the hook. And then I'm going to bring that blunt end of my crochet hook underneath the ladder, push it through so then the hook grabs the stitch and pulls the stitch behind the ladder. And then I just do my purl repair. And now, after I'm finished, the hook will be in the correct position to move forward and do a knit stitch repair.
So it's not hard to use a regular crochet hook to do repairs on garter stitch. I just prefer doing it with the double-ended crochet hook. So there it is. We have banished all of the swatch of horrors for today, and we have repaired our drop stitches without needing to frog back once, all with the help of a crochet hook. Swatch of Horrors has kind of become a series of videos for me where I look at mistakes and the bad things that can happen while knitting. I have a whole playlist down in the description box if you want to look at those, including times when you might intentionally want to drop down to fix a problem. A very common one is for me is when I split fiber in my yarn and I catch it later. Yeah, I will just use a repair hook and repair it back up. When I am knitting color work and I get the wrong sequence in my color work, I don't usually frog all the way back. Instead, I use a crochet hook to fix my color mistakes in stranded color work, and it works beautifully. There's all sorts of situations where you can avoid frogging with the use of a crochet hook. And I will be happy to explore all those circumstances with you if you would like to see them. So let me know down in the comments below, what is the next
Swatch of Horror?
I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If so, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your other fiber loving friends. Liking videos, sharing videos, commenting on videos are all ways that help to support my channel and let YouTube know to recommend me to other people so we can keep growing this community together. Speaking of growing the community together, make sure that you are actually, in fact, subscribed. That is the easiest, freest, bestest way to help support what I am doing here. And believe it or not, at least this happens to me all the time, I think I am subscribed to somebody because they're in my feed all the time. And then I go to look and I'm not in fact subscribed and I've missed a whole bunch of videos and I'm like, oh darn. Go ahead, make sure you are subscribed to my channel and you will never miss one of my uploads. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you might be watching this. And as always, happy health and happy making. Bye.